Om, the Chandogya Upanishad in simple English, presented by Svayam Prakash Sharma, part 8 of 14. This part consists of sections 10 to 17 of chapter 4 and concludes the chapter. Here, Upkosala learns about Brahm from fire and from Satyakama Jabal. Upanishad, chapter 4, sections 10 to 17. Once Upkosala, son of Kamala, came to Satyakama and lived with him as a student of sacred knowledge. He lived in the teacher's house for 12 years and tended his fires during this time. Satyakama taught the other students the sacred wisdom and allowed them to go home. But neither did he teach Upkosala, nor did he allow him to go home. Satyakama's wife then said to him, "This student of sacred knowledge has performed all his duties. He has done his penance, and he has tended the fires well. Let not the blame of not teaching him attach to you. So please teach him. Please give him the teaching." But Satyakama still did not teach Upkosala and went away. At the teacher not giving him the teaching, Upkosala was hurt and started grieving. He resolved not to eat. The teacher's wife then said to him, "O student of sacred knowledge, why do you not eat? Please eat." To which he replied, "A person has many desires which go in different directions. I wanted to learn the secret wisdom which the teacher is not teaching me. I am therefore filled with grief and will not eat." Then the fires said among themselves, "This student has performed his penance and tended to us well. Let us therefore teach him." Then they said to him, "We will teach you. Listen. Life is Brahm, joy is Brahm, and ether is Brahm." On hearing this, the student responded, "I understand that life is Brahm, but joy and ether being Brahm, I do not understand this." The fires then said, "Joy truly, that is the same as ether, and ether truly, that is the same as joy." Then the fires explained to him life and ether. First of all, the householder's fire instructed him. Earth, fire, food, and sun, all these are the forms of me. They are all my forms only. The person that is seen in the sun, I am that person. I am he indeed. Whosoever, knowing this, meditates on the fire, he destroys all sinful actions. He becomes the possessor of this world. He reaches a full life and lives a good life. His descendants do not perish. We serve him both in this and the next world, who, knowing this as such, meditates on the fire. Next, the southern fire instructed him. Water, the quarters, the stars, and the moon, all these are forms of me. They are all my forms only. The person that is seen in the moon, I am that person. I am he indeed. Whosoever, knowing this, meditates on the fire, he destroys all sinful actions. He becomes the possessor of this world. He reaches a full life and he lives well. His descendants do not perish. We serve him both in this and in the next world, who, knowing this as such, meditates on the fire. Lastly, the eastern fire instructed him. Breath, space, sky, and lightning, all these are forms of me. They are all my forms only. The person that is seen in the lightning, I am that person. I am he indeed. Whosoever, knowing this, meditates on the fire, he destroys all sinful actions. He becomes the possessor of this world. He reaches a full life and he lives well. His descendants do not perish. We serve him both in this and in the next world, who, knowing this as such, meditates on the fire. Then the fire said to Upkosala, Upkosala dear, you now have this knowledge of ourselves of the fire, and you have knowledge of the self, but it is the teacher who will tell you the way. The teacher returned, and seeing the glow on Upkoshal's face, he said, my dear, your face shines like that of one who knows Brahm. Who has instructed you? Upkosala tried to conceal and said, who could have taught me, sir? Then pointing towards the fires, he said, earlier these fires had a different form from what they have now. Then the teacher asked him, what did they tell you, my dear? This he replied, telling the teacher all that the fires had told him. Satyakama then said, what they have told you is about the worlds, but I will give you the knowledge, knowing which evil deeds and sins will not stick to you, as water does not stick to a lotus leaf. Please tell me, revered sir, said Upkosala. The teacher said, the person who is seen in the eye, he is the self, the Atma. This is the immortal, the fearless. This is Brahm. But we can see this self in the eye only if we are pure of heart. So, even if one puts melted butter or water into the eye, it goes away by the sides. This people call Samyad Vam, for all desirable things go towards him. All desirable things then go to him who knows this. He is also Vamani, for he brings all desirable things. He who knows this then brings all desirable things. He is also Bhamani, for he shines in all the worlds. He who knows this shines in all the worlds. Now, for such a man, on his death, whether funeral rites are performed or not, he goes to light. From light he goes into the day. From the day he goes into the half month of the increasing moon, the waxing moon. From the half month of the waxing, the increasing moon, he goes into the 6 months when the sun moves northwards. From those months he goes into the year. From the year he goes into the sun. From the sun he goes into the moon. From the moon he goes into the lightning. Then there is a person who is not human. He then leads him to Brahm. This is the path called Devyan, the path to the gods, the way to Brahm. Those who go by this path, they do not return to the human condition. Yes, they do not return to the human condition. Now we come to speech and silences in sacrifice, and how the Brahma priest corrects mistakes during the sacrifice. That which purifies everything here in existence, that is the wind, which is the sacrifice, because it, moving along, purifies all that is in existence. And because moving along, he purifies all that is in existence, therefore he is the sacrifice. Of that sacrifice, mind and speech are the two ways. We sacrifice with speech and we sacrifice with the mind. Of all the priests who are involved in the sacrifice, only the Brahma priest performs the sacrifice with the mind in silence. The performance of the Brahma priest in the sacrifice should be an act of meditation. He performs the sacrifice mentally. The other priests, such as the Hotra, the Advaryu, and the Udgatra priest, all perform the sacrifice with speech. When the morning prayer has commenced, and before the concluding recitation, if the Brahma priest has to speak, then since he breaks his silence, the sacrifice is interrupted. He performs the sacrifice in one way only, that by words, but the other, the mental part, is interrupted, is injured. And just as a man with one foot who walks is injured, or as a chariot with only one wheel which moves is injured, so too is his sacrifice which moves only on speech injured. And when the sacrifice is injured, the sacrificer, the person getting the sacrifice done, is also injured. By having sacrifice, instead of benefiting, he actually becomes worse off. But when after the morning prayer has begun, and before the concluding recitation, the Brahma priest does not speak and remains silent, then they perform both ways, with speech and with mind, and then neither is injured. As a man with 2 feet who is walking is well supported, or as a two-wheeled chariot moving is well supported, so too is his sacrifice well supported with speech and mind. When the sacrifice is well supported, then the sacrificer is well supported as well. By having sacrificed, he definitely becomes better off. Prajapati meditated intensely on the worlds, and as they were meditated on, he extracted their essence from the worlds. He extracted fire from the earth, air from the atmosphere, and the sun from the sky. On these 3 deities that he had extracted, he again meditated intensely on them. And as they were meditated on, he extracted their essences. He extracted the Rig verses from the fire, the Yajus formulae from the air, and the Psalm chants from the sun. He again meditated intensely on the threefold knowledge which he had extracted, on the knowledge of the Vedas. As this knowledge was being meditated, he again extracted its essences. He extracted Bhur from the Rig verses, Bhuva from the Yajus formula, and Swaha from the Psalm chants. If the sacrifice is interrupted or injured from the Rig verses, one should make an offering in the householder's fire with the words Bhu, hail. So the essence of the Rig verses themselves, and by the power of the Rig verses, he heals, he cures the injury to the Rig sacrifice. And if the sacrifice is injured by the Yajur formula, one should make an offering in the southern fire with the words Bhuva, hail. Then by the essence of the Yajus formulae themselves, and by the power of the Yajus formulae, he cures, he heals the injury to the Yajur sacrifice. And if the sacrifice is injured by the Psalm chants, one should make an offering in the eastern fire with the words Swaha, hail. Then by the essence of the Psalm chants themselves, and by the power of the Psalm chants, he cures and heals the injury to the Psalm sacrifice. And if the injury is to Brahma, then one should make an offering in all the 3 fires, saying Bhur, Bhuva, and Swaha, as the injury relates to all the 3 Vedas. Just as one would bind together gold with borax salt, silver with gold, tin with silver, lead with tin, iron with lead, wood with iron, or wood with leather, in the same way one binds together and heals any injury to the sacrifice with the power of these worlds, with the power of these gods, and with the power of the 3 Vedas. Truly, such a sacrifice is cured and healed well when there is a Brahma priest who knows this. Truly, that sacrifice is inclined to the north, in which there is a Brahma priest who knows this, for whenever mistakes are committed, he breaks his silence and corrects them. And with regard to such a Brahma priest, there is this song: Wherever it falls, that is where the man goes. The Brahma priest, as the Ritvik priest, protects the sacrificer like a mare. That is, the Brahma priest, knowing this, protects the sacrifice, he protects the sacrificer, and he protects all the other Ritvik priests. Therefore, one should only make such a person who knows this as his Brahma priest, not one who does not know. Yes, he should only make a person who knows this his Brahma priest, and not one who does not know. This concludes part 8 and chapter 4 of the Chandogya Upanishad. Om Shanti 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 Om.